Recording is started.
Okay, good afternoon, good morning, good day, wherever you are. Welcome to this month's Filr monthly product update call. Today we're mainly going to have a look at the changes that were in the recent release that came out, 2 weeks ago now, of 24.3. My name's Robin Redgrave, and with me on the call today we've got Girish, who's the product manager, but he's suffering a little bit from jet lag, so he may fall asleep. He's just got in half an hour ago from a 17-hour flight, so he, I suspect, will be quite quiet. We also have Mike Hunch on the call, and Kyle Bradford, who from the support team. If you've got any questions, then please do put them in the Q&A and ask them there. Kyle or Mike will be keeping an eye on those there. Before we start off, I just wanted to go through some of the upcoming events that we've got for OpenText. First of all, we've got our big conference, the OpenText World, which is happening in mid-November in Las Vegas. This is a 3-day event there, and we're going to be showing off some of our AI work that we've done at that conference. So do have a look out for that, and do register if you're interested in going. Then some other events we've got coming along. There's a DACH tour, that's Germany, Austria, Switzerland tour, that's again happening in November. That's going to be going to multiple cities. I think the same cities that we went to last time around, though this seems to be in a slightly different order to the visits that we did last year. I'm sure Dusseldorf was, or earlier this year, I'm sure Dusseldorf was after Stuttgart there.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're just trying to confuse me. I took your slide.
Yeah, because it's not fixed so far, so the dates are fixed, and the locations are more or less fixed, but the match is not fixed so far. We will for sure maybe see a different order than last year, so that's possible.
Okay. And then also we obviously have the TTP conferences that are going to happen. At the moment we're trying to work out what the timeframes are for those, but they'll be happening most probably in next year, though the Bangalore conference may be towards the end of this year, so keep an eye out for that. Let's just get on to doing an update of where we are on the development side. So this is looking beyond the release we had a couple of weeks ago. So the next release that we're looking at coming out with is going to be Filr version 24.4. The features we're going to be putting in there is enhancing the DLP, or data leak prevention, capabilities of Filr. So the way we're going to be doing that is having integration with another one of our products called Idle, which is a very powerful tool for analyzing file content and acting upon that content. So we've been working with the Idle team. They're going to be, they've got integration with Filr that can set DLP policies from their tool, So rather than, as at the moment, you have to go through and manually assign DLP policies, you can set up what's called a workspace administrator who has the rights to set DLP policies and has to go through each file in turn to set that. This would automate it, so it can go through, you know, many millions of files, seeing if they've got credit card numbers in, or passport numbers, or national insurance numbers, or email addresses, or whatever is deemed a security issue, and then set DLP policies based on that. And as you know, at the moment, we only have the one DLP policy, which is by default called confidential, but you can change that to something else. And we're going to have some additional policies in place that can be set as well. So, and as time goes by, we'll be adding additional policies to the DLP options as well. What we'll also do is, if there is sorry, an action that happens on one of these sensitive files, we are going to audit it. So you'll know what's happening to your high value files there. To support this, we're going to be adding in some additional APIs. Those are going to be the REST APIs. We've already provided APIs into the DLP option for the IDLE team. So if you've got your own applications that do scanning, then you could write your own integration there should you wish. The next thing that we're looking at providing in that release is the ability to expose SharePoint Online as a NetFolder server, and of course NetFolders. You'll be able to not just access your OES files, your AD files, NAS files, but now and indeed SharePoint files you can do at the moment. You will also be able to expose SharePoint Online files as a net folder, so giving you a bit more access above what we've got at the moment. And of course, you're then going to be able to do all the things you normally can do in Filr with editing the files and sharing files and so on. As part of that, we'll also let Filr access users from Intera ID. That's the old Azure AD, I think it used to be called. So we'll be able to access users from there as well. Mike, any questions?
We have no questions so far about that topic. There's one question about the issue with the SS forums. So maybe we take that at the end. Markus, sorry. Oh, Brett answered it already. So, okay. So no questions, Robin. Go ahead.
Okay. I noticed in the chat window, there's will IDLE also allow you to improve OCR indexing and searching through items in Filr? So that is something that we can do, and we've got already working with IDLE. So you can index the files through IDLE. You can do your search through IDLE and click on your results and end up in the file in Filr. So we have that at the moment. Just for those of you that don't know, IDLE, as I said before, does have a very powerful capability. Among other things, it can look at images. So you can say, find me a picture of an elephant, for instance, and it will also look at audio. So you can say, find me text of somebody talking about group-wise. And so you can get that, and it will also look at video content as well and be able to index and search on that as well. So I don't know if that's going to be available at the same time as 24.4, but I have seen it working. So it's something that is on the cards at some point or other. So I think that was comment there. Oh, and I noticed we've also got Lawrence has been making a comment here. I assume, Lawrence, you're nowadays involved on that side of things, but he's implying that the idol is going to be renamed at some point to Knowledge Discovery. That sounds a far better name to me than idol. So there. Okay, so that's what we've got coming along in the next release. Let's just have a quick look at what we've got planned going forward after that. So early next year, we're hopefully going to be able to edit from Office 365. So this is the sort of content editor type capabilities, where in addition to content editor, and I stress from 365 if you
Robin, looks like you have some audio issues. Girish, are you still there?
I can hear you, Mike. I think it's Robin who's gone.
I can hear you too. Can you hear my voice? This is Kyle.
Yes, Kyle, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, great.
And Robin is coming back in again.
Back. I got a big message on the screen from WebEx saying it had encountered a problem. So
this message is still visible.
And not everyone else. Let me just restart my share again, and hopefully you can see my screen.
Still the old one?
Yeah, it should just be, if I go forward, can you see that move?
Nope. Not now.
Not now?
Nope.
Hold on a second.
We see your previous screen where it has that pop-up informing you and all of us that you're on a WebEx meeting problem report.
Oh, you saw that, did you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on a
We
second.
also saw your bank statement.
Well, the bank statement's there so people can put money in my bank account. Hold on a moment. Let me just try and work out how to share this again. Why it isn't sharing now. Share screen. Ah, I see. There was an extra message because I was still presenting already. You can see that one now.
Your blank screen. Your screen. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Great.
we see your desktop. Yep.
Okay. Let's hope that WebEx doesn't bomb out on me again. But we'll see on that front. Okay. So yeah, you'll be able to. Hopefully, you heard me saying that you'll be able to edit files from Office 365 in addition to the content editor. Something else we're going to deliver is being able to get file history. So what has happened to a file? Who has modified it when? Who's shared it when? who created it. So you're going to be able to see exactly what's happened to a file, and basically the audit trail, but for an individual file, which is going to be very useful indeed. As I said, on the DLP side, we're going to be doing some work around that, and as well as adding additional restrictions, we're looking at having an override restriction. So, for instance, if the chief executive is allowed to share something that other people aren't, he can go and there's a mechanism in place that he can actually share that information out there. We're looking at being able to do collaboration with Filr from the new Outlook interface there, and again something with IDLE, or what was it called? Knowledge management, was it? I can't remember. Sorry, Lawrence.
Knowledge discovery.
Knowledge discovery. We're looking at adding redaction capabilities as well. So if you've got a file that's been flagged as only share redacted version, or whatever we call it, then if you share that with someone, what will happen is we'll send the file to IDLE, which has a redaction capability, which will redact the sensitive information, and then you will actually share a PDF version of that file with the information redacted. So people won't be able to see the email addresses or credit card numbers or whatever it is that you're looking. Oh, and look, there we go, that advanced search I was talking about. I think what we're talking about here with advanced search is actually having that search within the Filr interface, whereas the version, what I've seen working before was from the IDLE interface. So this would be something within the Filr interface for doing that search. And then looking a little bit further forward to this time next year, we're going to be adding in the ability to collaborate on Filr files from Teams, add in some Filr analytics, so around what files you've got, what users, shares, who's sharing most information, who's got the biggest files, and so on. So that will be available in that sort of time frame. Hopefully you're aware you can do that type of thing already with some of the SQL queries that you can do, and using something like Jaspersoft, you can get nice pie charts or bar charts or whatever it is that you're looking at for this. But this will be, rather than you having that, will provide that capability there. Also, we will provide document signing capabilities. This will be linking through to one of our other products in the OpenText product range. But when you share a document with someone, you can sign it so that they know it really has come from you and is a proper document from OpenText or your organization there. So Mike, any questions around any of that?
Yeah, there's a question from Kevin. We have achieved OS servers with tens of thousands of PDFs and directories. Restricted read-only net folder access through Filr can be slow, unusable sometimes. If we resync the NSS volumes from archive OS to a dedicated Filr server directory read-only, would that be faster for Filr client access generally?
Offhand, I'd need to think about that. That's rather a complicated question.
Yeah. So we will take it later, or
I'd say drop me a mail, or most probably best drop Mike an email Kevin, because I'm off on holiday for 3 weeks from tomorrow. Send
it today.
I'm palming everything off on Mike whilst I'm away, much the same way he palmed everything off on me whilst he was away. Yeah, offhand, I don't know that. Any other questions there?
No.
Okay, great. So let's move on and just have a look at what's in Filr 24.3. So this was a release that came out a couple of weeks ago. Typically, the .3 will mean that it's the third quarter. And we do try to make sure that we get the release in the first month of the quarter. Just be aware of that. So it's what we call an innovation release. So it isn't long-term support. It's going to be supported for 1 year only. So hopefully you're aware of the new support cycle that we've got. So the .1, .2, .3, so the quarter 1, 2, 3 releases typically are only supported for 1 year. The .4 releases are supported for 3 years, should you need that. So the next long-term supported release is in 24.4, which hopefully you've worked out from what I've just said is going to be due in October, which is the first month of the fourth quarter. And just to remind you that you need to be on a supported version in order to be able to open an SR. And you do have the option for an additional 2 years on that 3 years support if you need to have that. But that's something you need to pay additional costs for. If you're not on a supported version, you most probably will have problems getting support to help you. So just be aware of that. So what has actually been updated? So the KeyView engine, which is what we use for preview, the HTML rendering, has been updated to the 24.2 release. That is also used if you've got full content indexing. Just be aware. So it will pass through that as well if you're doing full content indexing. And KeyView itself supports almost 2,000 different file formats. Though for some reason or other, we only support about 40 for preview. So just as a hint for you, if you've got file formats that you want to preview that you can't at the moment, just find the line in the SSF properties file, copy that to SSF ext properties, and just add your extensions on the end that you want to preview. 9 times out of 10, I find that will work, and you then can start previewing files there. So,
and Robin, some updates from Lawrence. KeyView will be renamed to File Content Extraction, and it's possible over 2,000 now.
Over 2,000, okay.
Yeah, he mentioned, yeah.
Okay, so anyway, you can obviously with all of those file formats that it can convert, the chances are that if you've got one it's not doing at the moment, you'll be able to just add it and see that there. As far as Collabora is concerned, we've updated the Collabora, and that's the content editor. In case, for those of you that don't know, we use a third-party product from Collabora, Collabora online LibreOffice or something. That is been updated. That's got a few new features in there. I think we added in things like QR code capabilities now. I say we, they added in QR code capabilities. The Postgres appliance has been updated, as has Anglia, and we have patched Tomcat as well there. So quite a few changes on the back end with bits and pieces there. So first of all, let's just have a look at some of the new features that we've added. First thing is that we've made it possible for you to bring in external users from an LDAP server. So why would you want to do this? We have quite a few customers who already have their users, external users, partners, customers in a LDAP directory already, because they're using those credentials that you've got there to authenticate to, you know, the purchase or ordering system or to the support system or whatever. And so rather than having to make users have a different password and login to Filr than they've got already, then we can use that existing credentials in order to authenticate to Filr. So it makes life a lot easier. And the other thing is that, of course, it also means that users don't have to go through that self-sign-up process that they have to at the moment. So life is a lot easier for external users if you've brought them in from an LDAP directory. So this is just, you set up your LDAP source in much the same way as you would already. We just go and have a look in the administration console here. You can see down here, I've got my LDAP source. I've got internal users and external users here. So let's just have a look at the external user interface. So here I've got this option to create them as external users, which when at the moment I haven't got the option to do it. If I do add a new server, you can see I can select whether it's going to be internal or external user. If I select external users, you'll notice that groups will disappear at the top because we aren't bringing in external groups. And of course, much the same way as if I select Active Directory, I've got SAM account name there. Also on external users, it just will go to the mail account. You can only use mail there. So they're logging in with their email address on that. So in much the same way, you can have a LDAP group that you're pulling the members of. So an external user you want to give access to Filr, you can just add them to a group, and then that filter will kick in and they can come in and use that. Or in this case, I'm just pointing to a context called, an organization there called external, which has my external users in. So I'm just going to pull those straight through from there. Remember, if you've got group-wise or you've got OES, you do have 250,000, 250,000 eDirectory authentication only licenses as part of that. So you can use those licenses for external users if you wanted. If you're going to do that, then you may want to put them in a different context like I've got here, or even better, a whole separate tree and keep them separate from everyone else, because otherwise our legal team will have you jumping through hoops trying to prove that they're not accessing group-wise or OES there. If we just go and have a look in my users, you can see I've got this user here, Mr. Pitt, who we've got a different icon from the normal light blue icon for internal users, and it's a red icon. just indicating to me that that's an external user from LDAP. And you can see that's highlighted when I go over the user. So you've got internal user, external user from LDAP, or I've got internal users just that I've created locally. And of course, his user ID is going to be his email address that we've got there. So you've got that there, very easy to bring in those users into Filr. Any questions around that, Mike?
Not around that, but there was a question about the Office 365 editing feature coming in the future. There was a question: is it will it be restricted to advanced license only?
My guess is that it will be.
Okay.
But that's a question for the product group, most probably nearer the time.
Yeah.
But and this is just my guess. The product group may have totally different ideas, but my guess is it will be part of Filr Advanced.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
Okay, so yeah, you do get some quite nice additional features with Filr Advanced. So do consider, if you're on Filr Standard, do consider upgrading. And obviously, we did have that promotion a few months ago for getting it quite cheap. Right. So what about if you're doing MFA on these external LDAP users? As far as the repository is concerned, I've found that you can use either the SQL or the LDAP repository. You can just set them up as normal, except on the LDAP side, you need to specify the LDAP lookup attribute is the mail attribute. So let me just show you what I mean by that. Where's my browser there? Oh, let's log in. If I can, there we go. So on the repository here, I've got my external LDAP. We're looking at that external directory, and down here, my user lookup attribute is mail, and username is mail as well, rather than let's go and look at the one that I've got here, just show you what we've got there. So normally it's CN, as you'd expect. So because people are logging in with their email address. If you're going to have self-registered users, you need to use the SQL repository. And typically, I think I would say always use the SQL repository. If you have both, like you saw I had there, it's not going to work for the LDAP users. Well, it is going to work, but it's going to prompt the user which repository are they in, because it's found them twice, once in the SQL repository and once in the LDAP repository. So you need to, rather than confusing the user and having them have to specify what repository they are, just use the SQL. And I think I'd always use the SQL repo repository for that there. So you're not messing around with users in multiple places and confusing people. Any questions, Mike?
Yes, there's a question from Dietmar. It's about a customer wants to move folders from one server to another in Filr.
Yeah.
Net folders are on different net folder servers, and it's not working. Moving single files is working. Is that something? And the question is, why are they moving the folders in Filr to keep all the shares, right? So,
yeah.
Is that something where you should open a case, or?
I haven't tried that myself. I would, open an SR. I'm sure Dietmar already has there. But just as an aside there, we are doing some work around improving moving files and copying files around that, which should improve performance with that. At the moment, if you're moving files, they go through the temp directory, which is fine if you've got a 10K file, but if you've got a 10 gig file, a video file or whatever, it obviously takes a lot longer because it's copying it to a temp file and then elsewhere. And so we're doing some work around how to improve that sort of performance there. But in Dietmar's case here, I would open an SR.
Yeah, so he mentioned already he opened an SR, and now it's an idea in the ideas portal.
Okay, good. Though personally, I think it should be. Sorry, I've got to. I assume Girish is still on the call. I can't see. Yeah, but I would say that's more a defect than enhancement request. But that's just my own feeling. Anyway, let's move on. So, next thing that we've done is for the users in the address book, the external LDAP users, they will appear in the address book, but will be branded as being external. So this is the web UI. You can see down here that it says we've got an external user. This is desktop. Again, we've got the external user there. And indeed on the mobile app, you can see that they're external there. So you can see that you've got clearly that these are external users, so you don't accidentally share internal information with the Girish that's external rather than the Girish that's internal. So a little bit of extra security there. The next thing is that, as you can see here, in some places, maybe having all your external users and their email addresses being visible to all your users is considered a security risk, in that, you know, any one of your internal users can see all the email addresses of all your external LDAP users coming through here, which most probably you don't want to happen in some countries. I know things like GDPR, that most probably would be against it. So we have got a resolution for that problem, in that we can disable the address book search for external LDAP users. So all you need to do is edit the SSF-ext properties file. Let me just, I know most probably some of you are not aware what SSF properties is, so let me just take you through that. I can just find my, of course, typical, haven't got that. So let's just log in here and take you through it. So let's go to the root of the directory. So in opt, Novell, Filr, Apache Tomcat, web apps, SSF, webinf, classes, config, and there is a file SSF properties. And we mentioned this previously as well, but if I just have a look at this file, this has, I don't know, 1,000 odd settings that you can set for Filr. What is it? Almost 3,000 lines long. So maybe 1,000 odd settings in here that you can set. So the trouble with this file is that in an update, it will get overwritten because, of course, we've just added a new feature there, added a new setting. We'll put the setting in the file, and when you update, this file gets overwritten. So to get around that problem, we've got a file ssf-ext.properties where you need to add any of these extra options too. So down here, you can see I've just well, at the moment I've got that commented out. I can add that option at the bottom. Having done that, I need to save and then restart Filr. And then those external users will not be visible. If, sorry, let me just get back to where we were. If you're running on a cluster, then you need to set that on all your web nodes and restart each web node. So this isn't a central setting. This needs to be done on each of your web nodes to pick that up. Just be aware. And then if you enable that option, then the users are going to have to manually enter the email address in the shared dialog, just like they have at the moment for existing external users who are self-registered. So no change there in what they're doing. The only difference is that now if I use the email address of a LDAP external user, they won't have to go through the self-registration. They just log in with their email address and the password they've got set for your other portals. Okay, any questions, Mike?
Not about that. There are some discussions around the versioning and long-term support. So Kyle is doing his best to answer those questions, just to make it not end the discussion at that point. But it's already addressed in the product management, and we are working on it. So there will be a solution and a communication how we move forward with that in the future. So.
Okay. Right, thank you. On the SMTP side, we now support TLS 1.2 and later. In order for this to work, there are a couple of things that we need to do. One is to actually import the certificate into the Java key store from the external SMTP server. And then you need to enable SMTP-S in the outbound email configuration side. So let me just show you where that's being done. So I come in here, let's just log into VA admin. It's going to come up. Come on. Sorry, I should have gone into it earlier, having just restarted the machine before here. So VA admin. Yeah. Sorry, I shouldn't have brought two screens up. Just confuses things. There we go. So it's done in much the same way as your LDAP if you're doing secure LDAP. So I just need to go into digital certificates. Normally I go to the web application to import my web certificate, but in this instance I stay on JVM certificate and then just do an import trusted certificate and bring in that. And then what you need to do is on the outbound email, you just need to enable SMTP-S on that. and so you get your improved security around that should you need to. Just something to bear in mind is that if you're using a SMTP relay of, for instance, the GUIA, you're only going to be encrypting between you and the GUIA, so internally, not across. And it's whatever the GUIA does after that that determines whether or not it's encrypted from then on. So just bear that in mind, because some people I talk to imagine that that's going to be the whole transport stream is going to be encrypted, whereas obviously it isn't. So some other bits we've done around security is HSTS that we've added for communication to the content editor. We've done some changes to prevent disclosure of non-essential details. There were some responses that we're giving that give a bit more information maybe some people would want. So we've cut back on the information coming back from those. And we've also added in some protection against host header injection, whatever that is. I have not got an idea, any idea what that is, but it's a security, could be a security issue. And so again, there's a setting that you can put in SSFEXT properties for that. So that again would need to be set per node in a cluster, and obviously restart Filr. And then the desktop client for Windows with the password we've been storing in the Windows password store there. We've actually encrypted that now in the password store. So if somebody's got access to that store, then they won't be able to make head or tail of your password there. We have added some additional support in other areas as well. So as far as VA Share is concerned, we're now supporting that on OES if you're connecting as using CIFS. And that is supported from 23.4. If you want it to, you can use that with CIFS encryption. So you just need to enable CIFS encryption on the OES server. And then on the Filr side, you need to change the FAMPD, the FS tab to include a seal option to ensure that that encryption is used. My guessing is that if you do an upgrade to a new appliance, you're going to need to set that again, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But just be aware when you next come to do an upgrade on their base appliance, you may need to take that, reset that. But if you're doing online updates, that will be fine now. And as far as net folders are concerned, or net folder servers, we're now supporting SharePoint 2019. So if you've got a SharePoint system in place, you can set up net folders pointing to that SharePoint environment and exposing the files there. So I think looking at telemetry, there are a few customers out there who are running with SharePoint. This just takes you up to the next level. And something that we used to be able to do, but then sort of disappeared, but now we can do again, is that external users can use the iOS client and the iOS Filr mobile client and log in and access their shares that way if you wanted to. So you've got options there should you want to. Mike, any questions around that?
Good. Yeah, there was a question about, are we working on a more standard certificate handling across different product appliances? Not sure in which context it was.
Would that be in respects to Google trying to push for a 90-day certificate? Possibly.
Possibly. So I know you played around a little bit with Let's Encrypt, right?
Yeah, Let's Encrypt. You can use that, but it's a manual thing at the moment using Let's Encrypt, and that was just using the Acme protocol there. So you can get that to work, but there's some manual bits there. I'm sure somebody out there will have written a script to automate it.
The question is more along the line of there's, we have different appliances, and each one has its own certificate management tools. For example, the iPrint appliance, they don't do it through the 9443, that tile of digital certificates, but they moved it into, the managed iPrint appliance. And then other appliances have probably done their own thing. So we have this base appliance that looks pretty standard across lots of different things, but when it comes to certificates, they're different. And the question is, are there plans to merge all of those into one consistent certificate management? And I think the answer is no, there is not. I've not heard any plans for that.
I'm not aware of anything, I'm afraid, on that front at all. Obviously, Filr, we do it through the 9443 port for all our appliances there. I know advanced authentication, you've got two places for certificates, one in the 9443 port and one in the application. And yeah, as you said, iPrint has it within the management rather than the 9443. So it can get a little bit confusing as to where to find where to put your certificate. But I'm not aware of there being any push to standardize. Any other questions?
Nope.
And maybe now would be the time to ask any general questions if you want. We've got a little bit of time left. So 7 minutes or so left, but if there are no additional questions, I'll give you a moment or two to think about it. In which case I will, if there's nothing coming, I'm sure you would have said, Mike, if there was.
Yep.
Okay, in which case, let's call it quits for the day. Thank you, everyone, for turning up, and we'll hopefully see you next month on the Filr product update call. We do have some other calls happening over the next few weeks, but I will be away, so I think Mike will be handling my side of that there, so don't be surprised if you don't hear me. Thank you very much, everyone, and thank you, Mike and Kyle in the back end for
and Praveen and all the others.
Oh, sorry, I don't even get to see that they're online after I had it all set up before my crash.
Sure.
And then when I came in, none of my windows came back, so I haven't been able to see who's behind the scenes there. So thank you, everyone who's been answering the questions coming in, and see you next month. Goodbye.
Thanks, Robin. Bye-bye.